The story begins nearly 20,000 years ago, when a man named Tao led his tribe on a hunt to gather food for the coming winter. As they moved through the wilderness, they spotted a herd of wild buffalo grazing in the distance. Tao raised his hand, signaling his people to get ready. Slowly, they crept closer, and when the moment was right, they attacked. At first, everything went perfectly. Spears flew, shouts echoed, but then one furious buffalo turned and charged straight toward Tao's young son Keeda. It was Keeda's first hunt, and fear took over him. He tried to run, but the beast caught up, tossing him high into the air. Keeda crashed to the ground, badly injured. The buffalo then hooked him onto its horns and began running toward a cliff. Tao saw it happen, his son crying for help, the beast storming toward the edge. Desperately, Tao threw his spear with all his strength. It hit the buffalo, but it wasn't enough. Even wounded, the animal didn't stop. With Keeda still trapped on its horns, it leapt off the cliff, disappearing into the deep valley below. The screen fades, and the story takes us a week back in time. The tribe is busy preparing their weapons for the great hunt. That night, Keeda's mother looks at Tao and says softly, "Please don't take him with you. He's too young. I can't lose him." Tao pauses for a moment, then replies, "Winter is coming. If we don't hunt now, our people will starve." The next morning, Tao and his tribe set out for the hunt. They walked for hours until they reached a stone monument built long ago in memory of their ancestors. In their tribe, it was a tradition whenever someone died during a hunt, the others would build a stone memorial to honor them. As Tao and his men continued forward, they encountered another tribe. That tribe too was out hunting, so both groups decided to join forces and move together. By evening, they managed to capture a wild boar, and the task of killing it was given to Keeda. But Keeda had never even killed a mosquito before, so slaying a wild boar was far beyond him. Seeing this, Tao felt disappointed. He told Keeda, "If you keep hesitating like this, you'll never become the leader of this tribe, and I'll have no choice but to give your place to someone else." Later that night, everyone sat around the fire, cooking and eating the day's hunt. But suddenly, they heard the roar of a wild animal nearby. Tao quickly warned everyone to stay alert, yet before they could react, a lion attacked, grabbing a young boy named Kappa and dragging him away into the darkness. The next morning, the tribe built a stone memorial for Kappa and continued their hunt. They walked for hours, but that day found no prey worth catching. So as night fell, they decided to rest in a stone cave nearby. Inside the cave, Tao took Keeda's hand and carved a tattoo of stars on his arm. He told him, "When you look at these stars in the night sky, follow their path, they will lead you back home." It was more than just a tattoo. It was a map written in the stars, a guide for any hunter who lost his way to find his tribe again. The next morning, Tao and his tribe once again set out in search of new prey. After walking a short distance, they noticed fresh buffalo footprints on the ground. Quietly, they began following the tracks step by step until they finally got close enough. And when the moment was right, they attacked together. And just like that, the story returns to where it began. One furious buffalo charged at Keeda, injuring him badly and throwing him off a massive cliff. The tribe stood frozen in shock. Everyone thought Keeda had fallen to his death, but when they went closer to the edge, they saw that he was still alive, hanging onto a rock ledge below. Tao tried to reach down to save his son, but before anyone could help, Keeda's hand slipped and he fell further down. Luckily, he didn't fall all the way to the bottom. He hit several rocks on the way and finally landed unconscious on a narrow ledge. Seeing this, Tao tried to climb down to save him, but the other tribesmen held him back. They told him, "It's too late, Tao. No one can survive a fall from that height." But Tao refused to listen. He sat by the edge of the cliff, calling out his son's name again and again. Night fell. There was no response. Keeda didn't move. And finally, with a heavy heart, Tao accepted that his son was gone. The next morning, the tribe paid their last respects to Keeda, built a memorial for him, and left with the little food they had hunted. Hours passed. Keeda still hadn't regained consciousness. Then, out of nowhere, a vulture spotted him and swooped down, thinking he was dead. The bird began pecking at him, and suddenly Keeda's eyes opened. With a burst of strength, he grabbed the vulture by the neck and threw it off the cliff. Breathing heavily, Keeda looked around and realized where he was stranded on a narrow rock high above the valley. He began shouting for help, but his voice echoed into emptiness. And soon he realized the truth: no one was coming to save him. Keeda wasn't ready to die, not like this. So gathering every bit of strength he had left, he began climbing the cliff. His hands were bleeding, his body trembling, but he didn't stop. After a lot of struggle, he managed to climb a little higher, but soon he found himself stuck. There was no way forward. Still, Keeda refused to give up. Hanging onto the rock with all his might, he kept fighting to stay alive. And then luck sided with him. Dark clouds gathered above, and soon a heavy rainstorm began. The rain poured endlessly, and within moments, the deep valley below filled with rushing water, turning the cliff into the edge of a raging river. Seeing this, an idea struck Keeda. He knew how to swim, so he quickly estimated the depth of the water, and with a deep breath, he leapt. He hit the water hard and immediately lost consciousness. When he opened his eyes again, it was morning. He found himself lying by the riverbank alive, but barely. His legs, however, were in terrible shape. The fall fall had dislocated his bone, and his ankle was badly swollen. Groaning in pain, Keeda wedged his foot between two rocks and with a scream, snapped the bone back into place. Then he broke off a sturdy branch and used it as a makeshift crutch to support his leg. Slowly and painfully, he climbed back up to the top of the cliff, the same place from where he had fallen. But what he saw there shattered him. A stone memorial had been built in his name. His tribe thought he was dead. Tears filled his eyes as he fell to his knees, crying uncontrollably. And just then, he heard something strange behind him. He turned and saw a pack of wolves staring at him. Before he could react, the wolves charged toward him. In panic, Keeda rushed to climb a nearby tree, but one wolf managed to grab his injured leg, pulling him down. In pain and fear, Keeda quickly drew his stone weapon and struck the wolf hard, wounding it. He then climbed higher up the tree, gasping for breath as the rest of the wolves circled below. That night, Keeda decided to stay on the tree, waiting for dawn, hoping the wolves would eventually leave. As night fell, the wolves still hadn't left. When morning came, Keeda looked down and saw that only one wolf remained, the same one he had injured the night before. Its companions had left, but this one lay there, weak and wounded. Keeda knew what he had to do. He took out his knife and began shaping a sharp weapon from a branch. He told himself, if I don't kill this wolf, it will kill me. Climbing down carefully, Keeda moved toward the injured animal. But as he looked into the wolf's eyes, something changed. He saw pain, not rage, and for the first time he felt pity. So he lowered his weapon. He couldn't bring himself to kill it, yet he knew he couldn't just let it go free either. He tore a strip of rope from his bag, tied it around the wolf's mouth, and, with great effort, lifted it onto his shoulders. Then the two of them, the wounded boy and the wounded beast, set out together into the wilderness. After walking all day, they found a small cave where they spent the night trying to survive the cold. The next morning, Keeda gathered some wild herbs, crushed them into a paste, and applied them to his wounds. While he was drinking water from a nearby stream, the wolf managed to loosen the rope around its mouth. When Keeda turned and saw this, his heart skipped a beat, but instead of panicking, he stayed calm. Slowly, he approached the wolf and offered it some water. The wolf bared its teeth and growled, trying to scare him away, but Keeda didn't back off. He knelt down, held out the water again, and spoke softly. Something shifted in that moment. The wolf stopped growling. It looked at Keeda, and for the first time, it realized that this human wasn't an enemy. From that day on, an unexpected bond began between the two. A bond born not out of strength, but out of survival and trust. After that, Keeda carefully cleaned the worms and dirt from the wolf's wound, then applied a layer of healing herbs over it. By evening, Keeda managed to hunt a rabbit, and when he returned to the cave, he started a small fire to cook it. But as soon as the smell of meat filled the air, the wolf tried to snatch the rabbit away. Keeda quickly growled back, waving his knife to scare the wolf off. Then, to prove he was stronger, he tore into the raw rabbit meat and ate it right in front of the wolf. The wolf stared, growled softly, and then quietly backed off to a corner, lying down in silence. That night, for the first time in days, Keeda's stomach was full. He felt a strange peace in that cave, and when he looked at the wolf, he tossed a small piece of meat toward it. The wolf sniffed it, then ate quietly, almost like a tamed dog obeying its master. Since Keeda was still badly injured, he decided to stay in the cave for a few more days to recover, and the bond between the two slowly grew stronger. One cold night, Keeda noticed the tattoo of stars on his arm, the one his father had made. It reminded him of home, his tribe, his family, and in that moment, he made up his mind he would return before the snow began to fall. The next morning, Keeda packed what little he had and prepared to leave. He looked at the wolf and said softly, "Go back to your kind. You don't need to come with me." But the wolf didn't move. Keeda tried again, shouting, waving his hands, but the wolf just stood there watching him. So Keeda sighed and started walking alone. After a while, he began to feel uneasy, as if someone was following him. He turned around and there it was, the same wolf, quietly padding along behind him. Keeda picked up a stick and threw it toward this wolf, hoping to scare it away. But instead of running, the wolf grabbed the stick in its mouth and trotted back to him, wagging its tail like a dog. It was as if the wolf had finally revealed its true nature, a creature meant to be loyal, not wild. As they continued their journey, the two came across a group of wild boars grazing nearby. The wolf instantly sprinted toward them, ready to hunt. But as the boars scattered, they ran straight toward Keeda. Startled, Keeda froze. Instead of fighting, he ducked down in fear, and the boars raced past him, disappearing into the forest. The wolf was very disappointed with Keeda because, due to his mistake, both of them had to go to sleep hungry that day. However, they soon became friends again, and Keeda gave the wolf a name, Alpha. That evening, Alpha spotted a small rabbit. This time, he didn't make any mistakes. He hunted the rabbit successfully. That night, both of them shared the meal together. When it was time to sleep, Alpha curled up next to Keeda to stay warm. Days passed like this, and the two of them kept moving toward their destination. In the following days, Keeda also learned how to hunt with Alpha's help, and their friendship grew even stronger. After a few more days, winter arrived. The whole area was covered in a blanket of snow, and icy winds blew from all sides. But despite the harsh weather, Keeda and Alpha didn't give up. They kept moving toward home. home. Even in the freezing cold, they somehow managed to find food and survive. One day, while walking, the ice under Keeda's feet broke and he fell straight into the icy water below. It was actually a small frozen lake. Keeda tried hard to climb out, but he couldn't find a way. Alpha tried to break the ice to save his friend, but he wasn't heavy or strong enough to crack the thick layer. When Keeda couldn't find a way out, he quickly pulled out his knife and started breaking the ice from underneath. After many attempts, he finally managed to break through, and with Alpha's help, he climbed out of the freezing water. Keeda immediately took off his wet clothes, lit a fire nearby, and warmed himself up. They spent that night there, resting by the fire. The next morning, they continued their journey. After walking for several hours, Keeda saw a man sitting outside a tent. At first, he felt happy, thinking he had found someone alive, but when he got closer, his happiness vanished. The man had frozen to death in the cold. After that, Keeda took the bow and arrows from the dead man and continued his journey with Alpha. The two of them walked for a long time, but soon another danger appeared. They came face to face with a pack of wild dogs that attacked them the moment they saw them. To escape, Keeda and Alpha quickly ran into a nearby cave and waited there, hiding and watching for any movement. When everything seemed quiet, they relaxed and sat down, unaware that the cave actually belonged to a man-eating black panther. Before they could even think, the panther appeared and leapt straight toward Keeda. But just like every time before, Alpha jumped in between to protect him. However, the panther was much bigger and stronger than Alpha, and soon Alpha started to struggle. Seeing this, Keeda quickly pulled out the bow and arrow he had taken earlier. Gathering all his courage, he aimed carefully and released the arrow. Luckily, his aim was perfect. The arrow struck the panther right in the chest, and it collapsed to the ground. After the fight, Keeda cleaned Alpha's wounds and applied herbal medicine to them. He was deeply grateful to Alpha after all. Alpha had saved his life many times during their journey. Because of this, Keeda decided he would take Alpha home with him. The next morning, they continued their journey once again. Step by step, they kept moving forward. After walking for many hours, Keeda finally saw the stone monuments, the same ones shown at the beginning of the movie. It meant that they were now very close to home. Seeing this, Keeda's heart filled with joy, and he kept moving ahead with new hopes and strength. But just then, Alpha collapsed to the ground. Her wounds had weakened her so much that she could no longer stand. Seeing this, Keeda realized that Alpha wouldn't be able to walk anymore. So he gently lifted her into his arms and continued walking, one slow step at a time. After a long and painful journey, Keeda's efforts finally paid off. From a distance, he could see his village. After so many days, the sight of home filled him with pure joy. Gathering the last bit of his strength, he hurried toward the village. As soon as he reached, Keeda collapsed to the ground. When his parents saw him, they were shocked and ran to him in tears. They held him tightly, unable to believe he was alive. With great effort, Keeda told his father to save Alpha at any cost, and then he fainted. A few hours later, Keeda woke up inside his home. Alpha was lying beside him. That's when he learned something surprising. Alpha had given birth to a litter of pups. It meant Alpha was actually a female wolf and had been pregnant during their entire journey. Despite her pain and exhaustion, she had stayed by Keeda's side and saved his life many times. Realizing this, Keeda's heart filled with love and gratitude. He gently wrapped his arms around Alpha, holding her close, thankful for the unbreakable bond they had formed.